On today's show, what does Cole Hutson mean for the future of the Capitals, and what are some of the advantages to tax free states in the NHL?
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about one of the big selections for the Capitals as they made at this year's draft when they selected Cole Hutson. They had to move some things around to accommodate that. Why were they so determined to go after him? We'll talk about that a little bit later. We will talk about what advantages do the teams in the NHL have that don't have the same tax laws as other states. And then in the last segment, I will give you Ovi's thoughts on the whole Kuznetsov situation. But just to get it going here, talking about a big pickup, a big selection for the Capitals in Cole Hutson. And this was something that involved trading Beck Malenstyn out to the Sabres. Listen, I love Beck Malenstyn. He was a huge player on the fourth line, a guy that I spoke about for the longest time, that he's waiting for his role, got his role. But all things considered, this trade was worth it as the Capitals got a truly dynamic player. In anticipation of the second round, the Caps engaged in a trade that involved sending forward a Beck Malenstyn to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for the 43rd overall pick. At the time, I was thinking, like, what's going on? What trading Beck Malenstyn? I thought he was a part of that really great fourth line for the Capitals, but they did have a player in mind, and that was Cole Hutson. Quite a player, and I think going to be a big piece for the Capitals' future. The franchise used this pick to acquire the skilled defenseman in Cole Hutson. What are some of the things that we're noticing that the Capitals are laser focused now on addressing the blue line in the future? I think we're sitting pretty good with the forward position, but as you can see now, they are more focused on the defense or the blue line. Talking about Cole Hutson skill and potential impact. Hutson is widely recognized for his exceptional offensive prowess, particularly in playmaking and shooting. His adept passing, proficiency in one-on-one situations, and adeptness in the offensive zone position him as a player who has the potential to make a meaningful impact on the ice. And if you get an opportunity to see some of his his big plays playing hockey, you can see him on YouTube and various sites. He is quite the player, and I think the Capitals made the right decision. Ross Mahoney and his crew strike again. Cole Hutson's background and expectations, having demonstrated his talent during his tenure with the U.S. national team development program and his subsequent performance in the USHL, Hutson's capabilities as 5'10", 159 pounds, so he should bulk up a bit there, I would say. Left-hand shot defensemen exemplify significant promise. He is expected to thrive in extended playing time and play a pivotal role in power play situations. Notably, he is the younger sibling of rising star Lane Hutson, who currently plays for the Montreal Canadiens. So talking about the pick in general, why the Capitals were all in. The Capitals liked Beck Malenstyn, but they knew they had to do something, and the Buffalo Sabres wanted Malenstyn as well. This selection marks Washington's first pick of a defenseman in the ongoing draft. It was going on following the earlier acquisition of right wing Tarek Parasek in the initial round. So it was an interesting draft, all things considered, as we take a look at it. Some people were saying, Tarek Parasek, I mean, I think he's pretty good. I think a lot of Capitals fans were thinking they were going to get another Ryan Leonard. But let's remember the Capitals were further down in this past draft here. Talking about Cole Hutson's playing style and comparables, drawing parallels to established defensemen like Cale Makar. I'm loving that. And Quinn Hughes, Hudson's exceptional skating ability, edge work, passing proficiency, hockey IQ. This is a common denominator with these guys, and deceptive maneuvers bode well for his potential ascension as a top 4 defenseman in the future. The Capitals have their eyes set to the future as it is getting younger. The blue line's getting younger. John Carlson is the elder statesman, I guess you would say, on the blue line, but you see this steps going forward into getting younger. And the NHL in general is doing that as well. Hudson's exceptional vision and playmaking abilities serve as a compelling asset that compensate for any shortcomings. Esteemed hockey evaluator Andy Miller characterizes Hutson as a captivating presence on the ice, emphasizing his exceptional puck handling skills and ability to dictate play. So having to move on from Beck Malenstyn to get a guy like Hutson, I think it was the right decision. Talking about future development and potential, it wouldn't be surprising to witness both Lane and Cole develop into their own version of Quinn and Luke Hughes in the upcoming years. Overall, Hudson's proactive approach to addressing his weakness at a young age bodes well for his future in the NHL. Very mature. That's the common denominator as well with these young guys, is mature beyond their years. It's not like in the young days where you saw a lot more immature behavior with the young guys. It's almost like teaching them how to be professional and adults at a young age is something that is almost equally as important as being a great skater and playmaker. So let's talk about the summary of Cole Hutson's skills and attributes. In sum, Cole Hutson is adept at navigating one-on-one, employing lateral movement, hesitation techniques, and adept passing to create scoring opportunities for his teammates. So there is a lot to like about Cole Hutson. I am excited for the future of this team. I'm excited for next fall, to be honest with you, but I know that this team is going to be really, really good in years to come. You take a look at the moves that were made at this last summer's draft here, and then you take a look at the moves in the previous years, not to mention the great talent that they have in Hershey. I think the Capitals are in a good position. Capitals fans had a bit of a down season last season, made it to the playoffs. I know the bar is set really high for this team, but if you can fix your eyes to the future a little bit, you will see that this Capitals team will be one to be reckoned with. All right, so coming up here after the break, we will talk about the advantage of certain NHL teams in certain states and tax laws and how that benefits them. I'll discuss straight ahead. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Life's busy, guys. I want to get tickets to the ball game. I'm busy. I forgot about it. Fear not, as tickets are actually cheaper closer to first pitch. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So it's not every day on this show that I talk about tax advantages and tax law and that kind of thing. But it is interesting that some big marquee names around the NHL are gravitating towards teams that historically they probably wouldn't have. Now, you take a look at the Panthers. Obviously, recently, they've been really good. The Tampa Bay Lightning, really good. But you take a look at the Panthers, there were quite a few years that they weren't great. And it's interesting that players wanted to flock to that state. Why? Because of the tax law. Nashville, another one. So the question remains, do those states have an unfair advantage over a team, say, like the Capitals or other teams that don't have the same applicable laws? And I think that is something that is going to have to be addressed in the future here. Talking about the importance of salary cap space and free agent attraction, the Tampa Bay Lightning made strategic moves at the NHL draft to create salary cap space, with general manager Julien Brisebois optimistic about this, along with his organization's track record of success and existing talent would attract free agents to sign with the team. And you take a look at the players that are on the Panthers. You take a look at the ones that are on the Lightning, the big players that went to Nashville. Nashville, not exactly a hockey mecca. What was behind it? The impact of favorable taxation situations. So Brisebois highlighted the advantage of a favorable taxation situation as a factor in attracting free agents. The impact of advantageous tax situations in various locations across the league has become increasingly evident, with several recent Stanley Cup championships based in states with no state income tax. You can draw lines to their success, because why? If I'm playing on that team, I'm an NHL player. Guess what? I get to keep more money. Who's not going to like that? Making these locations appealing to free agents. So it's interesting that you don't see these same upper echelon players wanting to go to the states that don't have similar tax laws. Talking about financial incentives for players. Players signing with teams in states with no income tax can potentially save millions of dollars over the duration of their contracts, creating a financial advantage for these organizations. And I don't want to be the guy that cries unfair, but it's unfair. And I don't think, I'm just going to talk about the Capitals, for example, here. I don't think that that is fair for a team like the Capitals. They could undoubtedly draw in a bigger name player just based on Washington's tax law, Maryland, Virginia, that area, that the laws that are applicable to the Capitals, if they had a similar tax law that they did in, say, Florida or Tennessee, then maybe they could attract bigger players. And I think that that is at the root of what other teams are getting at. So other factors influencing players' decision, in addition to financial incentives, weather, lifestyle, team culture, and personal circumstances also play a significant role in players' decisions when choosing their next destination in the NHL. So unless you are a person that is in love with snow, for example, it's not even the money. If you're married, you have kids, would you rather live in Minnesota, Buffalo, or would you rather live in Florida, in Tampa? Would you rather live in Las Vegas, where it is warmer, the lifestyle is more advantageous to people that are younger? If you are a young person in a situation like playing in Las Vegas or Tampa or these warm climates, I think that's a no-brainer. So unless you are a person, like I said, that just loves playing in a snowy environment, or you have some feelings towards a certain location, I think it's a pretty easy decision to arrive at. I'm going to play in a place where that pays me more money, there's better lifestyle, and it's warmer virtually year-round. I think that is, to a certain extent, an unfair advantage to certain teams. So talking about consideration of tax implications, players and agents are keenly aware of the tax implications associated with different states, and to take this into consideration when evaluating offers and potential moves, with strategies available to mitigate the impact of state taxes. So how would they deal with this? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe that I don't know how they would work that out. I'm not a tax law professional, but it's definitely an advantage for the teams that can take advantage of it. So maybe they need to set up certain things in place that kind of get rid of that advantageous nature. It's something to look into, and I'm sure if there is anyone adept in tax law, hit me up on Twitter at Locked On Caps or at DanCaps218 and talk about what your ideas are about circumventing those advantages. And it's not just Florida teams. It's not just Las Vegas. We're also talking about Barry Trotz's Nashville Predators. And you saw some big names go out to Nashville. Again, for me, not exactly a hockey hotbed. The Nashville Predators made a significant splash in the NHL free agency, securing top talent with a total expenditure of $111.5 million across 4 players. The marquee signings include Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea. This massive spending spree was a part of a league-wide trend that saw a record-breaking $1.12 billion in contracts awarded on the first day of free agency. Again, for some players, I don't think they necessarily care where they're playing if they're going to get paid that kind of money. It all depends upon what your motivation is. Are the Nashville Predators going to be a better team with Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea? Yeah, probably on paper anyway. And would they, if say the tax laws were different, would those same players want to go to those states? I guess we don't know, but I think that if you can draw reasonable conclusions in your head, maybe not. Maybe they'd still want to go to the Predators. I don't know. Everything I hear that Nashville is a wonderful city to visit, and the fans that show up to watch the games are really into it. It's just that when I think of some of the great hockey teams around the National Hockey League, I guess Nashville, for me anyway, doesn't pop off the page. Talking about impact of tax-free states on NHL teams and players, Nashville, situated in Tennessee, stands out as a favorable location for players due to its lack of state income tax as well. This unique advantage has sparked discussions about how to fix this issue. The influence of tax-free states of free agency, when questioned about the implications of managing a team in a tax-free state, Nashville's general manager, Barry Trotz, acknowledged the advantage, particularly for players in the middle tier, while suggesting that elite players are less affected. I guess if you are a person that is making crazy money, stupid money, that it doesn't really matter, maybe it's not as much of an issue. But if you are a person like he's talking about in the middle that could stand to gain from lifestyle, culture, and retaining more of your money, I think it makes more sense. So just in general, the success of tax-free teams in free agency, several tax-free teams, including the Panthers, Lightning, Golden Knights, Stars, and Kraken, capitalized on this fiscal edge. So it's something that's going to have to be looked into. Player perspectives on tax-free states. Players like Jake Gensel, who joined the Lightning, highlighted the allure of tax-free states, emphasizing lifestyle, atmosphere, and financial benefits. So you don't need to guess that maybe that's a lure. If you can keep more of your money, I think that is a no-brainer. At my job, if they said, hey, Dan, if you do this, you can keep some more of your money. What do you want to do? Who in the right mind is going to say, nah, I think I want the government to take more of my money? I don't think that a reasonable person is going to make that kind of decision. I don't fault the players. I get where they're coming from. But again, it is a clear advantage for those teams. And it's interesting that some of the biggest players went to the teams with that kind of tax code. So interesting moves. I think something that needs to be a loophole that needs to be closed up. I'm not exactly sure how they will do that, but it is something that needs to be explored. All right, so coming up here after the break, there has been a lot of talk about Evgeny Kuznetsov on this team. Not even a Capital anymore, but there is some significance about cap space that the Capitals will get in his contract being terminated. But what does Alex Ovechkin, what does he think about the whole Kuzy situation? I'll discuss straight ahead. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day, going to try to do some more episodes for you guys as there is some more news to cover. And I think that if you're covering a team, you should do your level best to do a show whenever you possibly can. Now, you have to understand that I have a family. Oftentimes, I'll take vacations. But if I have the time and there's news breaking, I will do my level best to bring you guys a podcast. That's my dedication to you, Capitals fans, and to the podcast in general. Next, talking here about Evgeny Kuznetsov. I know he was the guy that said he wanted to terminate. His agent said not so fast, but guess what? He was put on unconditional waivers for the purpose of contract termination. And yesterday's show, I talked about that they said that not so fast. He's going to have a home in the KHL, but it's going to take a while. But what does Alex Ovechkin, friend and countryman, what does he make of this whole situation? Talking about Alex Ovechkin and his thoughts on the whole thing after delivering an impressive performance at an NHL versus KHL All-Star game in Russia, Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin took the opportunity to discuss the future plans of his former teammate Evgeny Kuznetsov, who recently terminated his NHL contract. Kuznetsov mutually terminated his contract with the Carolina Hurricanes and cleared unconditional waivers, foregoing $6 million in salary. Although it is reported likely that he will join the KHL, the deal is not expected to be finalized in the immediate future. Ovechkin expressed uncertainty regarding Kuznetsov's future endeavors, emphasizing that whatever decision Kuzy makes will be in the best interest of him and his family. Having won the Stanley Cup together in 2018 during their time as teammates, Ovi remains supportive of Kuznetsov's decision-making process. Talking about Kuzy's career and trajectory, following an 11-year tenure with the Caps, Kuzy was traded to the Hurricanes during the 2024 NHL trade deadline after expressing a desire for change due to inconsistency and challenging situations in Washington, including off-ice issues. Now, do you think there's the possibility that the KHL, they know what kind of player he is? You better believe it, as that is the premier league over in Russia. And they know what kind of player he is. They know about the inconsistency. They know about him wanting to hop around from team to team or saying, get me out of this town because I'm not being utilized the way I think I should be. That I think that maybe in Russia, they see what kind of player he is as well. So an interesting situation. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. When will Kuzy land that team over in Russia, then KHL, and what kind of player will he be over there? Will he be able to find any of his former glory that he had in his younger day with the Capitals? It'll be interesting to see. But if there's one player that knows him very well, it is Alex Ovechkin. They've been through a lot together. And the one thing I'll say about Alex Ovechkin is that he's always very supportive of his fellow Russian countrymen and just players in general. He understands that hockey is, in fact, a business. So, again, Kuzy, I wish Kuzy nothing but the best. And I think that he thought that it was going to be a flawless transition, that I'm just going to be able to cut ties in the NHL, go over to Russia, sign a contract, and be ready to start playing hockey when the KHL season starts. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think that he will ultimately at some point find a job over there. He does have the skill set when engaged. It was always a head scratcher when he said, I can be the greatest player if I wanted to be. Why wouldn't you want to be? And that is kind of a bravado move. That is saying something that maybe isn't true. That's like saying, I could climb Mount Everest if I wanted to. I just don't want to. Well, if you're going to make claims like that, at some point you should make good on even being something close to that. Because at the time that Kuzy made that comment that I could be the greatest NHL player if I wanted to be, that was when he was playing some of his best hockey. So an interesting guy. And ultimately, all I can say is thank you for 2018. Thank you for your other contributions. Good luck in the KHL. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are ultimately what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On's 24/7 streaming channel, available on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.